Welcome to TFN Smart Trading Action Alert. I'm Laura Cadden. If there's been a recurrent theme to some of the most spectacular dynamic profit opportunities so far this year, it's the commodity supercycle. According to Global Economic Prospects 2007, growth in developing countries reached a near record 7% in 2006. In 2007 and 2008, global economic expansion will still likely exceed 6%, more than twice the 2.6% rate we'll probably see in the highly industrialized countries. The economies of China, India, and Russia are expanding at double-digit rates, causing their governments to be increasingly concerned about the economic overheating. Economic growth means soaring demand for resources and energy. Tight supplies are reduced further by speculative interference of private hedge funds, ETF, and institutions that aim to control large quantities of key resources to leverage demand and short supplies into profits for their investors. The resulting escalation in prices has given a new lease on life to many small mining companies who have spent the last decade with one leg in bankruptcy. Properties whose mining yield was long considered too expensive are now economical to be developed. For traders, the profits generated by the sudden reemergence of these former penny shares can be as enormous as they are volatile. My guest today is resource specialist Sarah Nunnally. The last time we had her on Smart Trading Action Alert, her recommendation of a microcap miner created a 45% gain in 3 weeks for her Material Profits Wildcatter subscribers. Welcome, Sarah.
Thank you, Laura.
So metals have been getting a lot of media attention recently. It isn't just the precious metals that have been attracting speculative activity, but I see that investors are becoming more and more attracted to base metals such as copper and cobalt and nickel, and of course steel. What is your take on this sector?
Well, the short answer is I'm very bullish in the long term. Until recently, a lot of those metals hadn't been making much headway. But currently, in taking a look at individual metals, I'm backing a stronger recovery in those base metals like copper and like nickel, more so than I'm backing a recovery in precious metals like silver and gold.
Oh, I see. Well, speaking of the media too, there's been a lot of coverage about the possible takeover of steelmaker Alcan by perhaps Alcoa or BHP Billiton.
Right.
Do you think, as a result of that, that there's a lot of other companies with great opportunities that are kind of out of the radar of the investor?
Absolutely. There are always companies that fall through the cracks when there's some really big news about a big merger like Alcan. But to be honest with you, I'm actually a little surprised that this company fell through. I expected it to be more in the news. I found a tiny Canadian miner that just acquired 100% ownership of 95,000 acres worth of nickel and copper rich land in the Athabasca Basin, and they acquired it for only $184,000.
That's like less than $2 per acre. Was there alcohol involved with this deal? I mean, what kind of reserves are we talking about for copper and nickel?
Well, the copper and nickel reserves are pretty substantial. It's about $1 billion resource up there. And I don't think the folks that previously owned the land knew what they were sitting on. That's how they got it so cheap.
I would think
We're talking about 26,000 tons of nickel, 14,000 tons of copper. It's just an astronomical resource, and it continues to grow.
And that would be, you think, we haven't heard anything about this though. I mean, $1 billion worth of resources, and it hasn't hit the news. You think they're trying to keep it quiet, or?
No, not necessarily. I think this is one of those companies that fell through the cracks because it's a small cap company. Its market cap is fairly small, so it doesn't make it onto a lot of big name investors' lists, and therefore, you know, it kind of gets overlooked when these big companies like Alcan gets, you know, the spotlight.
Oh, I see. So, how long will it take to bring these new resources into the market, and more importantly, how long is it going to take this small cap to break even? I mean, it's not inconsiderable, the expense for bringing a new mine online.
It's not, but this company did something very smart. It already raised the $8 million it's going to spend on its drilling program for this year through institutional fundraising. That means it's currently debt-free. So in taking a look at that, you have to take a look at how quickly the drilling program can advance. And the current drilling program could last through midsummer or perhaps the middle part of the third quarter of 2007. After that, the original acquisition paper said that production could come in less than 7 years. I think that's going to be a very conservative estimate, because the thing with this new project is that this project can be worked on year-round, which you can't say the same thing for a lot of other Canadian mines. So in working it year-round, I expect production to come in probably in less than half of that scheduled time.
Oh, so that's what you're seeing as a catalyst in the meantime, before all of these actual market value of the reserves really hits?
Well, yes and no. Obviously, the company can't monetize its reserves immediately, but this drilling program is continually expanding the company's reserves. For example, the original nickel band that they discovered in this area was thought to be about tens of meters thick. New data is showing that that band is hundreds of meters thick. So the company is able to increase its value before it has even pulled a pound of nickel out of the ground.
Now, since this is such a small cap, though, and all the things involved here, it's inherently volatile, but you've recommended it to your Wildcatter subscribers.
Yes.
And recommend it to us, perhaps? Get the name from you?
Well, I've recommended it to my Wildcatter subscribers because they understand the risk associated with these small speculative stocks, and they also understand that they have to show a little bit of restraint when making these types of investments. So I don't want to just blurt the name out to millions of viewers, but I can make it briefly available to a small number of folks just so that we don't drive up the price of this company artificially.
So to get the information, they can go to the Wildcatter website.
Absolutely.
So.
It's there. I've compiled a full special report.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Laura.
To learn more about Sarah's trading information service, Material Profits Wildcatter, go to www.mpwildcatter.com. Please tune in next week for another profitable opportunity on TFN's Smart Trading Action Alert. For TaipanFinancialNews.com, I'm Laura Cadden.